Now I've built up a tolerance. It takes more to give me that feeling. I can see you looking at me, but everyone's doing it. I know it's not good for me, but I just can't stop. Sugar. In the last few decades, our society's sugar addiction has spun out of control. Sugar is a lead cause in diabetes, depression, heart disease, and fatigue, just to name a few. But let's cut to the chase. I know you know we have to monitor the sugar intake in our diets, and that's obvious. But when we remove the sugar coating, we'll uncover the real, not-so-sweet truth. If we look at our society's sugar addiction like a mystery, the real question is, who done it? We are the victims. Sugar was the murder weapon. It's our job to find out. Was it Miss White in the kitchen, Professor Plum in the study, or Colonel Mustard in the dining room? The first suspect is Mrs. White in the kitchen. Through an overdose of sugar, Miss White was maybe just able to slip in enough sugar into our diets without us realizing it. We too often show love and affection through sugar. Virtually every special holiday has a sugary treat centered around it. Birthday cakes, chocolate Easter eggs, candy canes, and Valentine's treats. Don't even get me started on Halloween. Even terms of endearment like honey, sweetie, cupcake, all are laced with sugar. Because sugar is synonymous with good things, we easily and often overlook its true dangers. The other day, I was sitting in the waiting room at a doctor's office. The receptionist sweetly circled the room, offering candy bars, granola bars, and chips. This is not what the patients needed to make a full recovery. Were we flattered and impressed? Absolutely. But was she jeopardizing the patient's chances of making a full recovery? Absolutely. She, like many others in our society, was killing us with kindness. Miss White in the kitchen was obviously guilty of hiding the poison in our positive connotation of sugar. The next suspect is Professor Plum in the study. By turning our heads away from the issue, Professor Plum, aka the food industries, might have been able to slip in the sugar where we least expect it. Recently, we've been led to believe that fatty foods are the villain. However, this is just a red herring. When we think of fatty or fried foods, we're conditioned to be repulsed by the grease and grime associated with it. So, in response, the food companies gorge the grocery stores with low-fat and fat-free products just to take us off their scent. How did they make sure these low-fat and fat-free products would still be appetizing? They filled them with sugar. Sugar hiding under 61 different unrecognizable pseudonyms. We're familiar with the dangers of high fructose corn syrup, so the companies changed the name to natural sweeteners just to get us off their scent. Even worse, sugar is hiding behind foods that we might presume to be healthy. Foods like granola bars, cereals, and juices have alarmingly high quantities of added sugar. The World Health Organization recommends 25 grams of added sugar per day. However, by drinking 1 glass of processed orange juice, we consume 24 grams of added sugar. Or, when we line up to get a Ballisto bar during break, we may see an innocent 93 calories. However, we're consuming 11 grams of added sugar, which is almost half of our daily recommended amount. Nowhere will you see the percentage of added sugar on nutrition labels. Food companies led by mastermind Professor Plum are poisoning us and making a lot of money doing it. An obvious motive for any villain. Last of all, we have our third suspect, Colonel Mustard in the living room, who brainwashed us into purchasing the poison. How? Advertising. On TV, billboards, and the internet, we're led to believe that sugary foods have become associated with harmless fun, colorful packaging, happiness, and smiles. I'm not loving it. The food and beverage beverage industry spends about $2 billion per year marketing to children alone. The food itself is quite cheap too. Those sugary foods are less expensive. Are they really? How much would the hospital bills be later? In 2010, the food and beverage industry spent $40 billion preventing Congress from regulating unhealthy food advertisements. By marketing to young, innocent, and vulnerable minds, we become addicted at a young age, which is scientifically proven. In an experiment carried out, rats were given the choice between drinking cocaine water and water that was artificially sweetened by artificial sugars. An astonishing 94% of the rats got addicted to the sugar, not the cocaine. Colonel Mustard and the media are making addiction to the drug inevitable. Mystery solved. All three suspects are guilty of our society's addiction. All three suspects are guilty of the silent drug that is embedded in our culture. However, all three suspects are still getting away with it. On a personal note, I have a friend that's recently been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Knowing the sugar content in her foods is literally the difference between life and death for her. Because those meddling food industries are manipulating our food, it's making it harder for her to regulate her sugar intake. So, what should we do about it? I dare you to think differently about sugar, to act differently around sugar. Cultural norms, powerful food industries, and mass marketing are sabotaging us. This is beyond the power to say no to dessert tonight. Don't just change the quantity of your sugar, change the quality. Natural sugars occur in foods like whole grains and natural fruits. Make the right choice. Make the healthy choice. Here's another clue. Added sugar is in products that we might not expect. Check the labels. Cigarette packages are now required to label their products as addictive. Why shouldn't packaged foods? By changing the connotation of sugar, we're forced to step outside of our cultural norms, and we realize that sugar isn't all that it's cracked up to be. Dare to be different for the health of